Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of Adobe Live. I'm your host, Anna McNaught, and I am joined today by my husband, James Bonanno, and we're super excited for day 2. If you guys missed it yesterday, I gave James a big intro for his first time on Adobe Live. You may have seen me here hosting and as a guest, but I am so honored to have my husband joining me today. James, why don't you give everyone a little intro as people pop into the chat? Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all here.
Yes. Hello, everyone. And thank you, Anna, to my wife for that lovely intro yet again. Thank you to everyone who tuned in yesterday. We had an awesome time and a blast going through Adobe Premiere Pro and showing you guys a little bit about our workflow and some of the basics. We're really, really excited to dive into some more technical elements of creating some graphics today in Premiere Pro. And we have a lot to kind of go over, to talk about in our 2 hours on the stream. So yeah, I guess we could kind of dive right into it and take it away depending on how everyone's feeling in the chat.
Yeah, before we get started, I just want to take a quick look at the schedule so you guys can see what's going on today on Adobe Live. All right, so earlier today, you can watch all of these that are shown before James and I. You can watch them on behance.net/Adobe Live, catch those replays. And then after James and I later this afternoon, you have the Creative Encore Daily Creative Challenge with Howard Pinsky. And this is going to be a replay, but you can hop in the chat and take advantage of some of these fun activities. So I would love to know where you all are joining us from today. Hello, Robert. Hello, Mallory. Hello, Ted. Hello, Clever. Lots of people joining us. This is super exciting. And just to give you guys a quick intro to James and I as a team, we own a business called Leave the Map, and we are travel photographers and video creators, and we work with brands and clients, tourism boards around the world, creating photography and video packages for them. And James and I both have always had a love of travel. We currently live in a van part-time and travel around the US, creating different pieces and photography for clients. And so James has kind of become our main video producer and video editor, while I kind of head up the photography and editing side. So today, James is going to show you guys a few things in Premiere and recap a little bit about what we did yesterday. And then I think we're going to get into maybe a little After Effects as well as Rush. So James, I will let you take it away. I won't blabber on anymore.
Oh, I love when you blabber on. Keep going. It's great. Well, no, thank you. I think that's some good context for everybody. And like we said yesterday, if you guys missed the stream, my background really is in video. I went to film school, so this is kind of what I've been working on for quite some time. So as we mentioned in yesterday's stream, do not feel intimidated by the way that these timelines look. We're going to really try to simplify some of the basic graphic elements we're going to be talking about today. But I think Anna said yesterday that like most of these timelines look like a Tetris board. So it's easy for me to look at that and know what to do with it. But for someone that's just learning Premiere, take what you will from today's stream and from yesterday's. So let's just get into kind of what we're going to be going over today. A quick recap for those that were on the stream yesterday or for those that missed it. We really dove into the basics of Premiere. We showed you guys how to use the tools to actually clip your footage, to organize your footage, to label them, keep everything as organized as possible. We went into a little bit of an actual timeline and a sequence for a recent project we worked on. We showed you guys how to export those files for YouTube and for Instagram and for the different platforms. But what I really want to go over today is showing you guys how to use the text tool. And Adobe Premiere is a really powerful piece of software to create little graphics and animations without having to deal with After Effects. I know After Effects can be a bit of a challenge and it can be more overwhelming than Adobe Premiere. So time permitting, we may open that up, but today what we really want to do is focus on Premiere and show you guys some really interesting ways to create some motion graphics inside of Premiere with minimal effort, and to save them so that you can repurpose them for all of your social videos in the future. So
sounds good.
How's that sound?
That sounds great. I know everyone was a little overwhelmed yesterday with the timeline, but I think as you kind of move into the timeline in Premiere, things start to make more sense. And I think you did a great job of breaking it down yesterday. So hopefully we can do that today too.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I've been like very excited all day, thinking about what we what we were gonna go over today, like a little giddy school kid. I don't know.
Yeah, James was up early practicing everything, and he was like, "Okay, I'm ready to go." I'm like, "Can we have coffee first before we start chatting?"
Yeah, I was practicing my lines, practicing my order of how I'm gonna do things, and I'll still mess it up, so it's fine. Okay, so this is a different project that we had up yesterday. Yesterday, we were working on a client video. Today is more of a YouTube video that wasn't created with any client in mind. This is just sort of full creative freedom, which is really nice when you're dealing with a lot of client requests. And so I just want to show you guys the first like 40 seconds of this video so that you get a quick understanding of what we're going to be working on. We won't really be cutting this video, but you'll see some of the elements we mentioned yesterday. And what we're going to do is we're going to find little pieces in the video that we can create a little animated title out of and show you how to do all of that inside of Premiere Pro. So let me just play back the beginning here. I'm going to make this full screen so that everybody can see it. And I'm just using the little tilde key on my Mac, and that brings us up as full screen. The mountains. A place we go to calm our soul and escape the mundane. There's a healing energy that exists within these places. It heals from the inside out. Many have felt this and have traveled far and wide to find it. But few truly immerse themselves in the magic of the mountains. Cool. So we're just gonna
goosebumps every time.
I know, I love that. So this piece, just for some context, guys, this was created over years of us traveling, and more recently this past summer in the van. Like Anna said, we travel full time, and this is what we do as a profession. We really create content not only for brands, but for ourselves and for our YouTube channel and our Behance and things like that. So the idea here was to create just something that felt kind of ethereal and a cinematic piece that we could use as, I don't know, like a promotional film or something to look back on and reflect on our trips. And we're really proud of the way this came out. So I just wanted to show you guys that so you have some context as to what we're reviewing today and what we're looking at.
People are loving that in the chat. Everyone's saying, wow, beautiful, great job. Really into it today.
Awesome. That's great to hear. I'm glad, because I know playback on here is a little choppy sometimes. So if you guys do want to see the full version, you can head over to our YouTube page, and that'll be the nice high res version. But yeah, really, really happy with how this turned out. And as you guys remember, for those that joined yesterday, we went over a little bit about the various elements that you use to build these timelines. So obviously at first glance, you can see the amount of layers that are included in just this short little 45 seconds. Let's wait for my spin wheel of death to end. There we go. And so in this piece, we used a lot of sound design. We used, a couple different tracks of music, and we used diegetic and non-diegetic sound to really tell the larger story. So this is a little more advanced than what we went over yesterday, but really good to sort of see what you're hearing on a timeline. It just helps you to associate how this is built. But really what I wanted to focus on today for you guys is to use this video and use the end of this scene as a way to show you how to really easily create some title cards and animate those title cards right inside of Adobe Premiere Pro, because it is really easy to do. And I wanted to walk you guys through the ideas or the elements behind the Essential Graphics tab before we ever talk about After Effects. So to start easy, I'm just going to go to the last, like, I think maybe this is 10 seconds here, and I'm just going to play this and I'm going to show you what we're going to try to create here. Okay, so this is just a really simple, just text animation, not even really a text animation, just creating text throughout the video to just give it something extra. And what I want to do is I want to actually take this "See You on the Road." I'm going to recreate it and we're going to give it a little something extra. I want to create something that animates in, maybe a little box around it, or some lines that come in to give it a little bit more of a dynamic feel. And I'm going to show you guys exactly how you can create that in Premiere Pro. So we're just going to add this at the end of the timeline so that we can easily just bring it in and incorporate it. So I'm already inside of the graphics tab here at the top, which we went over yesterday. You know, you see that there's all these different tabs to scroll and toggle between, and graphics is the one that you should use when you're trying to create any sort of text. It's the most efficient way to do it. So we're going to come over here to the left and we're going to click T, or just click it, and that'll be our type tool. And if you just click right on the box, you'll notice that here in the timeline, it actually adds a graphic, and that's your layer. So let's type "See You on the Road." And my font is already, how do you spell road? There we go. My font is already the font that we're using, our style guide font. So that's already set. So what I'll do is I'll come here and I'll use the cursor tool to move this around. So this is how you can actually move your text around any place you need to. Again, I'm going to right click and put my safe margins on. This is preference. I like seeing kind of what I'm working within. And you'll notice that there's like this little crosshair on your text. And if you hover over it, there'll be a little cursor. And if you move that cursor, you can move it to where the anchor point of your text would be. So I'm going to move it to the center because I want my anchor point of that title to be right in the center of the text. And then your essential graphics comes up right here to the right-hand side. And a lot of the work is really done for you in here. So you'll see that there's a vertical center and a horizontal center. And what this will do is it'll just lock that text right to the center of your entire canvas there, and your entire timeline. So now we know that that text is exactly centered to where we want it to be. And just for this purpose, I want to center it, and I like that. And what we want to do is let's come in and let's just create like 2 lines that are maybe animating in off the side of "See You on the Road," just to give it a little bit of a more dynamic look to it. So what we're going to do is, you can see to the left here in the graphics panel, if I scroll down, I have all of those same parameters here under my effect controls. What you want to do is you want to come here and you want to grab a rectangle tool. The pen tool is usually what you'd see first, but you come down here and you create a rectangle. And you can create any number of shapes with this. You can create a rectangle, or you could just create a line. In this case, we'll just create, let's do 1 line across here. And you'll notice that these are your properties here. So right now that line is actually a stroke, and that's why we're seeing there's a little space in between it. So I'm going to actually turn the stroke off, and I'm going to turn my fill on, so we have a nice white shape here. So that's basically one way to create a line. You can create the pen tool to do the same thing. And you'll notice that when I create that, it now names a shape for me automatically. And that shape has its own properties under the graphics tab, same as my text layer does. So the more elements you add, the more of these names will be created under your graphics, and you can easily go in here and rename them. So if I right click it, or left, whatever that is, left click, right click, I will just name this left line, so that I don't get confused. And then this text we already have is "See You on the Road." And rather than creating that shape again, I'm just going to right click and I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to paste that line. And then I'm going to move that line to the other side of my text. And if I toggle this eye on and off, you can see, okay, that's my right line. So now I'm going to rename this, and that's now renamed right line. And so now we have our right line shape, we have our left line shape, and we have our text. And so you can very easily toggle between the two and see what you're working with, so that when you start animating certain elements, you're not animating the wrong piece of your text. How are we doing so far? Good.
Everyone
doing okay?
Bruce wants to know if there's a rule for how big or how small when using text for quality purposes.
Yeah, that's a great question. There's really no like set standard or rule. I would say that's kind of a personal preference and a creative choice. You can make text as big as you'd like. It's honestly just the more you do it and the more you create text for different purposes, the more you'll cater to one way or another. I tend to not try to make text too big unless it's really necessary. And I'll show you a really easy trick to kind of combine everything together and nest it so that you can, as a whole, make something smaller or larger. But as long as you're exporting your whole video at a really high res format, which we discussed yesterday, and I can show you a little today, the quality of the text shouldn't matter.
Great.
Cool.
Yeah, so let us know if anyone else has questions about what James is doing, or if you need anything repeated.
Yeah, please. I'm going to continue to go through this, and Anna, stop me at any point if there's some good questions like that.
All right.
All right. So now we have like a cool little, that on its own looks a little bit more dynamic than just the text. I know it's simple, but it's something different. And I'm going to show you guys how to actually mask these lines to make it look like we're creating some sort of animation. And so, like we said, if you toggle these down, you have your left line and your right line. Let's toggle the left line down first. And you'll see that under where it says shape, you have these 3 different mask properties. You have an ellipse, a polygon mask, and then you have your pen tool. And those familiar with Photoshop and After Effects and really any Adobe program are very familiar with these tools. And they function in a very similar way in video, but they function in a way that we're going to keyframe things together. And so just some context for those who don't really understand what keyframing is. It's essentially taking a property and moving it over a span of time so that something animates itself. And I'll show you guys how to do that right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to click this polygon mask, and you'll see that it creates a mask on our project window for us. So we're going to move that to make sure that the mask is only on the line. We want to make sure that that mask covers the whole line. So I'm going to use these points. These are my shape points, and you can see that my arrow, my cursor appears right on it. If you want to get a little zoomed out so you make sure that you're hitting those, you can change your play window, and I can zoom out to 50 and make sure that my mask goes all the way off of the canvas here. And so that's a really simple way to create a mask over your shape. Okay. And what you'll notice is when I created that mask, it added mask 1. You can add as many masks as you'd like. You can add, different ones for different purposes. But right now, all we're concerned about is this one mask. And underneath it, I have all these properties: mask path, mask feather, opacity, and expansion. And you see a little stopwatch. It's a toggle animation that appears next to it, to the left of that. And that's how we're going to start keyframing an animation here. And that's when you get into After Effects and you do more elaborate animations, this is your bread and butter. This is like really how you learn to animate, through keyframes. And we'll show you how that works.
2 quick questions for you.
Yes.
First one is, are there other graphic effects like inner glow, drop shadows, and gradients available?
Yes, there are. And that's a good question too. Pause on that for 1 second. So if you click on, let's say if you click on See You on the Road, there's some effects down here. These are very simple effects. We went into the fill effect, our stroke effect, our background, and our shadow. And so these are just effects on your essential graphics side that you can kind of use if you'd like to just add a little shadow and add some quick touches. I believe if you wanted to add more elaborate effects just to the text, you would come up here to your little like arrow, whatever icon that is, and you go to the effects tab. And this is all of your preset effects. So you have video effects for all your video, for text, for various reasons or various purposes. And you can go in here and you can start searching for different effects. So You have, let's see if we can find one that would kind of look cool on our text here. So we're going to go under stylize, and let's see, maybe we'll add like some of these I honestly haven't even ever used. So I'm just kind of going to see what they look like. But let's say if I drag replicate onto that text. So now just by doing that, I've now replicated that text into 4. And every time you add an effect, that effect will bring up parameters underneath your effect controls panel. So if you ever don't know how to fix something or you want to adjust it, it would always be adjusted under here. So your shapes are still here and your graphics are still here. But what you'll notice is when I toggle this text down, I now have, where do we go? Oh, I now have this replicate effect that we just added. And so if I change this number to, let's say 6, then I have all of these texts being duplicated and replicated. If I did 20, and so on and so on. Wow. So you can create really cool like backgrounds that way. And that's just one little effect. So if you're new to Premiere, like definitely just start playing around with the effects panel and the effects that are actually provided to you. Just when you install the software, it's really awesome.
So that seems similar to After Effects then, with like the parameters and kind of how you control it.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's similar in the same way where you'll notice that every effect you add for the most part has that toggle animation right next to it. So if I wanted to actually animate the text replicating from like 4 to 20, what I would do is I would click this stopwatch. So you turn on your parameters, and I'm going to maybe drag this out, let's say like 2 seconds, and I'm going to click my keyframe point. And this is me adding keyframes. And so this little arrow here it goes between the keyframes so you can more easily see where you're moving. And so what this is telling me is that I'm going to start at 2 and let's add like 20. And so now I get an animation that goes from over the duration of 2 seconds from 2 to 20. And so that effect is now you're controlling the amount of time that it takes to go between those parameters. And that's the idea of keyframes. And it's basically just like a value over time. So that's kind of it's like a pretty cool effect.
Yeah, that's super cool. And then another question a little further back in the chat was from T. Jonathan. Can I do the same if I'm using legacy title text? And I don't know if they were referring to just the animations or the initial text that you are using.
Legacy, what do you mean by legacy title text? Is that
so that is whatever was in the program, in the Adobe program early on before any sort of updates. Like I know with Photoshop, they had the legacy brushes, which was like the first batch of brushes. So I don't personally know anything about Premiere to be able to answer that.
Yeah, I'm honestly not too sure. I assume you can. There's a lot of things that are still like you'll find you can probably still search for a lot of those effects. And I know in After Effects, if you search for a legacy effect, like a gradient or something like that, it'll say that it's like an outdated or legacy model, but you can still use it. In terms of text, I'm not totally sure I fully get the question, but I think you can.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, great questions. Keep coming in, guys. This is great.
Yeah. And Nicole said that her original intent was to stitch all of her videos together in a TikTok or something. She was talking about traveling across the country, and then said, but we're inspiring her to go big or go home.
I love that. All right, there we go. Yeah, it's like that's what we're here to try to do, to inspire you guys and to get you to make the best thing you possibly can. And we're inspired every day by comments and questions like that.
Yeah. And hopefully later today, we'll have some time to get into Rush, which is Rush or Premiere Rush on the phone. And so we'll be showing you how to like easily take some of those clips from like quick little trips and stuff and put them into a TikTok video. That's kind of my bread and butter. James does the big things, and then I take all the little stuff.
That's awesome. I love it. Cool. So do
you want to go back to how you were starting to animate that line?
Sure. Yeah. So you can easily turn these on and off. So if you wanted to like try a bunch of effects to see how they look, you can see how that looks. And then I can just toggle this off. Maybe I want to come back to that later, but rather than deleting my work, I'll just turn it off and then I won't see it. So let's go back real quick to what we were doing before with these shapes. And we're going to just make a really simple mask. And I'm going to show you guys how you can create this little animated mask and then save it as a future motion graphics file inside of Premiere. So here's our left line, and here's our mask, which we've already added. So you can see that that box has been formed around the line. And just like we just did with the replicate, we're going to toggle on our mask animation. And this is going to start our keyframe process. So I'm going to toggle this on, and I'm just going to drag it out, maybe like to there. I usually just kind of give it a rough estimate to see timing wise first, and then you can easily adjust those keyframes, and I'll show you what that does in a second. And so we'll add another keyframe here. And so what I like to do is add the keyframes first, because I know where the final element is supposed to be. And then I work my way backwards. And so what I'll do is I'll go back to the previous keyframe, make sure you click on your mask here so that this pops up. And then what we're going to do is with the hand tool, I'm going to hold shift, and I'm just going to drag away. And what you'll notice is that now we've dragged that mask over our line. And when we play it back, we now have a line that almost looks like it's just appeared out of nowhere. And so that's a really interesting little trick rather than creating a little position. It's this cool little animation with a line coming in. And I kind of want that to go a little bit faster. So what I'll do is I'll move these keyframes closer together. So the closer together these keyframes go, the less time it takes for that animation to happen, which means it's going to be faster. So that's kind of cool. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do the exact same thing to our other line. So we're going to minimize this. We're going to come down here to our shape, and we're going to do the same exact process. We're going to take another mask on this line. Always good to hold shift down with these if you want to get a little more straight lines. And I'm just getting as close as I can to this line just for the sake of this demonstration. But it's always good to have a nice clean mask. Okay. And you'll see, if I just move this right now with no animation happening, that mask is removing the line in real time. So what I'll do is I'll use my keyframes right above as reference to where I want this keyframe to start. I'm going to do the same thing here. And I'm going to add those keyframes in the same exact spot, only this time I'm going to have the mask start the other way. So I'm going to make sure my mask is highlighted, hold this down, and then I pull this off the screen here. So now we have two lines, coming in at the same time, but for some reason I didn't have those timed properly. Oh, because I'm on the wrong one. Let's go here. There we go. I was looking at the replicate keyframes here. So that's why it looked like it came in a little bit slower. So there we go. Now those are animating in at the exact same time. And that looks pretty cool. It's just a very simple way to I don't know, bring your attention in. It's pretty basic, but it's a really clean way to make a little title. And now what we want is maybe to have that "See You on the Road" actually animate up from the bottom or down from the top so that it's coming in right after those lines are being animated. And so the way we're going to do that is we're going to zoom that. I just like to toggle these back and forth for my own sanity so that I'm not seeing a million keyframes. But some people like to have those up. So it's all a personal preference. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually add a mask now around the text. And so we're going to do the exact same thing we did before. Here's our 4 polygon mask, click that. And now rather than masking the lines, we're going to mask the text. Okay, so we're going to zoom this out. My wife is learning something today too.
I know.
All right.
I'm always like, no, I don't want to learn, but today I have to.
You got to. This is good stuff.
I know it is.
Okay. So what's cool about this is rather than animating the actual mask path like we did with the lines, we're going to animate a different property. We're going to animate the transform property. And what you'll see is if I scroll down, you have those transform properties, and the same stopwatch toggles are to the left of that, meaning that you can keyframe any number of those properties. So what I want to do is I actually want to keyframe the position, because I want "See You on the Road" to basically animate from this black space here and make it look like it's appearing out of the middle of the frame. And that's why this mask is here. So we're going to go to position. And before I do any keyframing. I'm just going to show you what it would look like. Oops. 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 There we go. So you can see that like, because the mask is right there, it now looks like it appears below or above where our line is, which I think is a really cool look. And so what we'll do is we'll time it. So here's the lines. We're going to just move this playhead, and I want it to start right about like there. And I'm going to toggle that animation. So we're going to add our keyframe, and then we're going to pull this forward a little bit. We're going to add another keyframe. We're going to use this to go back to our previous frame. And then we're going to drag this down so it starts below. And I like that to start a little bit earlier. So what I'll do is I'll just grab both of these keyframes and move them back so that we have line and see you on the road coming in all at about the same time. So that's like a really interesting way to animate something into the frame. Now, if you want to make it look a little bit more fluid and smooth, you'll notice right now, these keyframes just look like a little diamond. If I hover over the two of them and I right click, you'll notice a couple options here. And if you go to temporal interpolation, I think that's how you say that. I've never actually had to say that word out loud. And it sounds weird. You're going to come in here and you're going to go to ease in. And that's basically just taking those points and they're smoothing it out. So it looks a little bit more like a natural animation. So if I press ease in and I play it back, you'll see that now everything feels a lot smoother and it just looks a little bit more natural.
That looks so cool.
Right? So really cool little animation. And now if we wanted to animate it out, we would essentially do the exact same thing backwards. And so there's a couple ways you can do it. You can either recreate, or you can add these keyframes and place them on here to have them animate out. Or I didn't try this, but I think it would work. If you don't want to do that, you can come in here and press Command K, and that would cut your clip. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually right click this clip, and I'm going to go to speed and duration. And I'm going to go to, I can't do it. Never mind. Scrap that. Actually, hold on. For the sake of
reverse it.
Well, I think you can, but you have to nest it first, which let me just try this. I know this is a little, you know what? We'll just do it the old school way so you guys can see it real quick. Let's just say that this is what our animation is like. If we didn't want it to animate out and this was the end of our video, what you would do is, let's say you want to use this kind of text template in future videos, and you want to just be able to access this a little quicker and not recreate this every time. It's a really simple way to do it. You can come in here and let's go, rather than see you on the road, let's just call this insert text here. And let's see if we can center that. Actually, let's leave it, because these parameters would come up anyway. So if I wanted to save this for a future project, I would right click on the actual layer here, and I'd come in and I'd go export as motion graphics template. It's super cool. I just figured this out recently, so I do not know how I've lived my life not knowing this. And so I would come in here and I'd name this as a description for what that template would be. So for Anna and I, if we want to use this "see you on the road" as our end card all the time, I would just call this see you on the road, or maybe I'll just call it end card because it goes in alphabetical order, and "see you on the road." Okay. And your destination is going to auto default to this local templates folder and just save it right in there. You can include the video with a thumbnail, and that thumbnail would be what you're looking at right here. And I'm going to press OK. So that's going to do its thing real quick. It's going to export it. And now what it's doing is, when you go next to your essential graphics and you go to browse, you have all of these. I believe I talked about this a little bit yesterday. You have already created like motion graphics templates inside of Premiere when you first log in, but you can create your own, and that's what we just did. And so if I scroll down here and I go to end card, whenever we get there it is. I go to end card, you'll see that this is now saved as a template. So for every video now, if we wanted that exact animation to end our videos, I don't have to recreate what I just did. I can just drag that on, and that way
so nice.
We save a ton of time that way.
And it looks like you can search for it too in the search bar, right?
Yeah. So end card, there you go.
Awesome.
And so it's cool. Like you could create, we can create a lot of different intros, a lot of different end cards. And if you did end card and whatever that said, you can just, it's an endless library that you can add to. And like we mentioned yesterday, like time is money when you are working with clients. And so you want to make sure that you don't have to sit here and develop these from scratch every single time.
Yeah. Voodoo Val is extremely excited. She said her life has changed.
She just screeches in Adobe. I love it.
It's so great.
I know. Honestly, it's so funny because this is something that I've like in my head all the time when I'm doing these projects, and I'm always recreating stuff. And it was a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, there needs to be an easier way to just save these, because I've purchased motion graphics packages from people before other people create them. I'm like, it has to be pretty easy because it's all created in Premiere. And so I did a little research, and pretty easily you can make your own little graphics. So I made one the other day with just Adobe Live because I knew we were going to be doing this. And I think I made it for a different template. Let's see. And so all you would do is you would drag this in once it doesn't freeze on me. Let's cancel that.
Question for you while that's loading, if you want to work on that.
Sure.
So Mallory asked if a mask is necessary when you need to add keyframes.
You can't do one without. No, so the mask is not necessary. So keyframing can be done without masks. So let me show you guys just how to do a very simple keyframe animation without any mask. The mask sometimes is a little bit advanced from just keyframing. So let's move this. So let's say I just wanted, we'll go back into this because we're working on it. That's a great question. So I'm going to actually remove the mask so that no mask, done. Okay, it's deleted. All right, so you can see that mask is gone, but you're still seeing that position change. But the only thing you're not seeing that was different is the mask was what was hiding it from being animated up through just, black space. So it's basically like an alpha to hide everything. So if we turn that off, you'll see now with the mask, it disappears underneath the mask. But you can change any number of parameters. So if I just come in here and add like a text layer, and I just call it text layer, and all I want to do is just keyframe the scale properties and go from like 0 to 100 without a mask, you would do the exact same thing. You'd go under here, toggle down your properties, and you can see that if I change my scale, now that's moving my layer. If I let's toggle on my animation. I go from here to, let's say 2 seconds, and I go back and I start at 0. I now go from 0 to 100 real quick.
So the mask is basically covering up the areas that you don't want shown. Same as like in Photoshop, you're using a mask to kind of like hide or reveal those areas that you want to be shown. It has nothing to do with the actual animation, just what you're revealing or hiding.
Correct. Yeah. So you're essentially just telling Premiere, like, I want to show this, and then I want to reveal this, or I want to hide this first. And it's just a nice way. I enjoy doing animations that way because it's just, everything looks like it's a little more intentional, and you hide some of the basic animation properties. Cool. So it is in no way necessary to do that. And while we're at it, I'll just show you guys here, because I think that's a really good question with the masks and keyframing. A really cool little trick with scaling, if you're just like looking for a basic animation, is you don't have to just put 2 keyframes. You can add multiple keyframes to an animation. So what I could do here is, let's say I want this text to come into the frame and bounce. So it almost looks like it's coming towards you and then it's zooming back. So it looks like it's almost this, like it overshot itself and is fixing itself. And so what I'll do is I'll actually add another keyframe right after this keyframe. And so this first keyframe is at 0. Our next keyframe right now is at 100, but I'm going to actually make that 150. So it overshoots where I want it to land. And then I'm going to go to the last keyframe, and that's now at 100. And so what you'll see is you'll see this playing back, and you've now created like a little bit of a zoom out and then in just with the scale properties. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the exact same thing that we did before, where we highlight all these keyframes, we right click, and we're going to easy ease those in. And let's just move these in a little bit. And now we have this, like, I don't know, this nice little like bouncy ball. So if you've ever seen like bouncy animations, that's the whole process of creating like a little bounce with a ball.
That's cool. It's like the Texas breathing.
Yeah, exactly. I thought you said it's like Texas breathing, and I'm like,
it's
what?
Texas breathing.
Texas breathing.
Enunciate.
Yes. No. So it's really quite interesting, and this is a little more advanced. But if you were to want to, tweak those properties a little more underneath these properties, you'll see that there's a little toggle down like arrow, and you can then take these easy ease properties and adjust them a little bit more so that like they create more of a rapid animation in and out, so it bounces a little more. So you can really play around with that all in Adobe Premiere. Like you don't even have to go into After Effects to do any of this stuff. So it's really, really cool. All right. How are we doing over there? Are we the big I'm reading some of the chat too as we go.
Texas breathing. It's a new thing.
It's a new thing. It definitely is. Okay. So we can continue to go down the graphics and kind of animation path if we'd like, but I really wanted to make sure that I also talked about adjustment layers in cutting a YouTube video for like Instagram Reels or for TikTok, so that I can show you guys that process. Should we move into that a little bit?
Yeah, let's do that. And then we'll get into Rush around in like 20 to 30 minutes.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. And if you guys have more questions on graphics and Premiere and animation and stuff, just leave it in the chat. I have it on my other screen so I can kind of see your guys' questions. So shifting gears a little bit here, we hit on this a little bit yesterday, but when we're creating, and this is for creating videos specifically for social media, all the videos that we typically create, we create with a wide 1920 by 1080 aspect ratio in mind, because we're shooting everything horizontal, we're posting it to our website and to YouTube. But a lot of cases now, the client wants to make sure that they also have a TikTok version of it or a cut down Instagram version. And we want to make sure that we can still accommodate that. And I'll show you guys how to do that right now. So let me move myself over here. There we go. Okay. So I've already done a lot of this, but I want to work backwards to show you guys how this came about. So this right here is our final, let's call this our final video. And this is our format in 16 by 9, right? This is our YouTube version, our final high resolution video. And if I'm done with this and the client says, oh, I really want a 40-second or 30-second Instagram version for Reels, I know that format is 9 by 16. So it's 9 across and 16 down. And so what I would do is I would come in here and create a new sequence, and I'd go into my settings and I'd come to the frame size and I would go 1080 by 1920, and that gives me my 9 by 16 aspect ratio. Okay. And then we're going to call this Magic of the Mountains. What is this?
Reels?
Instagram Reels demo. Okay. What are we doing? What are we doing today?
Who am I?
Remind
me why I'm here.
What is my name? What am I doing? All right. So, so I've already done this, but I'm going to show you guys how to do it again. So now we have a 9 by 16 empty timeline. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to toggle here and go back to my final video. And just for the sake of time and for what we're going to send to the client, let's just say that this first 45 seconds is like the trailer, or this is the teaser for the full video. I'm going to come into this timeline here and I'm going to copy everything. Zoom out a little bit. I'm going to copy everything that is from the start of my playhead, including these adjustment layers up here, which I will show you in a second. Okay, so Command C, and we're going to copy this now into our 9 by 16 format. And If you're lucky, a lot of the work is just like, okay, perfect. We don't have to do anything. But what I like to do is play it back to make sure that all of the clips that I have are still fitting within the frame that I would like. Because if we shot everything wide, we now need to adjust and kind of move things around to make sure that we cropped everything in. We don't want to lose the important parts of the video. So the way to do that, the easiest way to do that is to add an adjustment layer so that you're not creating scale properties for every single clip that needs to be moved. So what we would do is we'd go into our project panel here. You guys remember this from yesterday. This is just a new project. And I thought I created one this morning. Okay, so this is, let's just make a new one so I can show you guys how to do that. Hold on. So I'm gonna move this up so I can actually add a new adjustment layer. So we're gonna come down here, we're gonna right click and we're gonna say new item and adjustment layer. And an adjustment layer basically serves the same purpose that they do in Photoshop. And what it does is it's a layer that sits above everything else that is a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a general effect on everything below it so that you're not adding the same effect to 10 clips. You're just adding one effect to all the clips across. And then we're going into each individual section of that adjustment layer and changing the size to make sure it fits. So here's my adjustment layer, 1080 by 1920. Okay, we're gonna name this so I know what I'm working with. And I'm gonna call this, I am having a tough time finding names and keys. There we go. We're gonna call this 9 by 16 crop. We're just gonna call it that, okay? And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna come and drag this adjustment layer right on top of that entire sequence and pull it all the way down, okay? Now, right now, nothing is happening. Like you can see that because the format before was set in 1920 by 1080, you still get these black bars because we haven't actually told Premiere zoom in and remove those black bars and fit it to the new format. So instead, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click this adjustment layer. We're gonna come to our effects panel and we're going to search for a property called transform. Okay, and then we're gonna drag transform onto that layer. And what you'll see up here in the corner is that now we're given transform properties like we saw before earlier with our text on top of that adjustment layer. And what we're really looking for is that scale property. And so we want to scale the entire project in until we lose those black bars so that now the entire video plays back with the video inside of that 9 by 16 parameter. So that's a really quick way to do that and just layer everything on top of it. And so you're zooming the entire video in with basically one layer and one button. The only addition here is because we shot this wide, we're losing a lot of the actual scene up here when we do that. So what I would do is come in and I would go basically to the scene. So that scene looks good. We're gonna go right to the scene and I'll just do a quick little adjustment here. So I'm gonna cut that, Command K, that cuts it, or you can use the razor tool up here. And then we're gonna go to the next scene. Gonna do the same thing. And now what you've done is you've created an adjustment layer within an adjustment layer. So this layer will function separately than this one. So if I click this, I can now move to make sure that like the part of the scene that I want to be seen is actually in frame rather than some zoomed in part of the video that I didn't like. And so now when I play it back, a place we go to calm our soul, I can see that this mountain is in the center of the frame. So it's a bit of a kind of a tedious process, but unfortunately, when you have a lot of layers like this is just how you have to do it to make sure that you're getting the video that you want.
Yeah, I think that's so important to be able to move those clips around and kind of see like each area of the frame that you shot.
Yeah, it really, I mean, there's probably easier ways to do this. If anybody in the chat knows of like a really quick hack that I'm not hitting on, I am more than happy to hear that because this does take a little bit of time. But for the most part, you can play it back and see you don't have to do this with every clip. So if I keep playing my playhead here, and escape the mundane. You know, like that waterfall shot doesn't need to be changed, but this clip, I feel like I want to move it over a little bit so that the mountain is more in frame. So what I would do is come back here and do the same thing, Command K to clip it, and Command K here. And then I'm going to make sure I'm highlighted on that layer, and I'm taking that transform property and I'm doing the exact same thing, and I'm moving it over so that now this is what's in frame. And because I'm not keyframing it, it's just the whole layer here is being affected. If I wanted to move it, I would keyframe those 2 points together, and then you can like see it moving back and forth.
Yeah. People are loving this. Mallory thinks you're a great instructor. Bruce agrees.
Oh.
And they want you to be a regular on here, which, fun fact, we are going to be back in April for another premiere segment. And we're going to be doing a quarterly series with James and myself, and with James teaching you guys all about Premiere, After Effects, Rush. I think we're going to get into some other things. So that's really exciting and some good news for you guys.
Yeah.
A couple questions to address real quick. Mallory asked what kind of computer you're using. It is a MacBook Pro on James's end. And then Robert asked what your school background is for you to have to be a creative director.
Well, I don't know. I think you don't have to have any sort of background to get to that point, but you do need to have some knowledge of creativity and video creation. Like I mentioned yesterday, I went to school for this. I went to film school and majored in film and television production. So for the last 10 plus years, I've been doing this professionally. So that's why I can kind of go through this fairly quickly, but anybody can really open up Premiere and open up these programs and work on them every single day. And I think that's the greatest part about having these at our disposal and having resources like these streams to learn from others that I didn't really have in school. So I had to kind of learn a lot of this on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a question. So the adjustment layer that's showing below the 9:16 crop, is that just from you doing this earlier, or is that a different adjustment layer?
No, that's a really good question. So we didn't really talk about this the other day, but these adjustment layers are actually all of my color grade.
Okay.
And so I do the exact same thing when it comes to a color correction, because I'd rather not color correct the clip itself. I can add one long adjustment layer. And this really comes in handy when, let's say you're filming an interview, like a corporate style interview, or something that has the exact same scene. So the lighting doesn't change or the color stays the same. So all you would need to do is add one long adjustment layer instead of the same color adjustment to every clip. But for me, because this was, all different clips, I figured I needed to add adjustment layers to each one. So I'll toggle that on and off so you can actually see what the clip would look like without a color adjustment. And again, this effect controls panel on the left-hand side, like we've been talking about, that's kind of your bread and butter where all of these effects will live. So you can see if I click on it, now you know that I have my color adjustment here. So if I toggle this on and off, this effects button right here toggles it, you'll see that my clip actually changes. And that's what the clip looks like flat without any color. And that's what it looks like when I color grade it. And that will change for each clip. So same as this clip, click that. And so that's actually what the shot looks like straight out of camera. And this is what it looks like when it's color graded. Such a difference. It's a huge difference. And I think we mentioned this yesterday. And while we're just on this topic, anyone that is shooting on, if you're shooting raw or if you're shooting on a professional camera, it's always really important to make sure that you're shooting in a flat color profile. And most cameras have those built in. And the reason for that is so that you can do just this. You'd shoot like this, and then you have way more dynamic range, meaning you have way more flexibility to grade the blacks and the shadows and the saturations and the highlights in post. And so if I scroll down here, just real quick while I'm on this, I'm gonna toggle over to my color panel up here. And I'll show you guys a bit more of a view here. So we looked at this yesterday, but if you click on each one of these adjustment layers, you'll notice that the color panel changes based on that clip. And so if I click on, let's say this clip of, let's find a good one. This is, I kind of like the waterfall because it was the most drastic. So let's go back to the waterfall. So you'll see if I hide that layer, look at the color difference, look at the change on that lumetri scope. So that's when it's flat. And if I turn that layer back on, you can see that I've pushed the color all the way as much as I possibly could because of shooting in that low profile.
Wow.
And all of those adjustments are seen here. I'm just moving myself around the screen, are just seen here on the right-hand side. So I actually took these blacks all the way down. I crushed those blacks as much as I could. I took the exposure up quite a bit. So you can even bring it up more than that without totally overexposing your image. You'll see here in the blues, this shot is definitely a little bit cooler. So if I wanted to warm it up, I could warm this up and then make the reds climb a little bit more and just even that out. I could take the shadows down even more before losing any detail in the blacks. But you can see it changing in real time. And it's really important when you're in this color panel to have your lumetri scopes up so that you can reference what you're actually looking at.
Yeah, that's really cool. I don't know if this is kind of in your workflow right now or if it'd be useful for anyone, but maybe you could just turn this adjustment layer off or delete it completely on this particular clip and then show adding an adjustment layer and adjusting these colors like as if you're doing it from scratch.
Sure. Yeah, I can definitely do that. So let's go maybe to another clip and I'll delete it and I'll show you guys how I would do it from scratch. Let's see here. Let's just toggle back to editing. Let's see, clip.
Something that has a really dynamic color change, I think could be interesting to see, like just your workflow from start to finish.
I'm going to actually go back into the YouTube version because we can see more of it.
Yeah, so I was thinking that would be good.
Let me go back here and there's a bunch of clips. This is a good one because this changes quite a bit. So that's the before and that's the after.
Wow. Yeah, it looks so much better.
So let me just start from scratch on that one and I'll show you guys how you can do that. So we found this spot that we want to color grade. I'm going to remove this. And what we'll do is let's go into our color window. Actually, let me just add an adjustment layer here. I'm going to drag this adjustment layer in. Okay. And there's nothing on this layer yet. This is an empty adjustment layer because we're starting from scratch. So you just, like I said before, you go in here and you file or you right click in the actual window and you can create a new adjustment layer. And that's just what I did. And then what you'll do is you'll click on the actual adjustment layer here. And I think the clip looks pretty good, but it's clearly shot with a flat profile and it needs a little bit of work. So what I would do is now I'm in the color window. Oh, I'm not in the color window. I will be in the color window. Here I am. All right. So now we're in the color window. Just navigating all over the place. Here I am. I'm right here. And if I look at my lumetri scopes, that's usually where I start. I try to see what in this image or this shot actually needs work. Is it properly exposed or is it underexposed? Do I need to adjust the temperature? Do I need to adjust the hue? So what I'll usually do is I start here. I start on my Luma panel, and this essentially is telling me what the blacks look like and what the whites look like. And so what I'll do is I'll just start dragging the blacks down until I'm losing some detail. And the only reason I'm seeing that line there is I'm now losing detail in that truck because it's already black. So if that truck wasn't there, I could probably crush this even more. So just for the sake of doing it, I'm going to bring this down. And now I want to maybe adjust my whites a little bit and give the image a little bit more contrast. So I'm going to pull my whites up and you can see that Luma is adjusting in real time. And our image is definitely getting brighter now. And so I want to add a little more contrast. So I would take my shadows, bring the shadows down and start to really bring that desert, kind of darken it a little bit. And I want to add a little more contrast. So I'd come up here and pull my contrast up. So I always start with just the basic panel because a lot of the color grading you can do in the Lumetri color tab can literally be just right here in your basic correction without having to go into a curves layer or anything too confusing. And now what you'll see is that our blue if you look at the image, you can already see that it's pretty blue, and it's definitely cooler tones than it is warm tones. And so your goal, if you want to create kind of the most natural looking image, is to make sure that these RGB channels are as even as possible. And so to do that, I would try to take this color temperature of the image and I would move this. And you can see in moving it to a warmer temperature, I'm now adjusting just the reds, and the blues are now dropping on my scope. And so I want to find somewhere where they're both fairly even. And that maybe looks a little warmer, but I kind of like it. And as you're making these adjustments, just, toggle these on and off. So you can see just in doing those things, we've now took that image from this to this pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And now if you wanted to take it one step further and you like the look of all the desert and the sand, and you want to really make those oranges and that kind of yellow pop a little bit, what you would do is you would go down here to the color wheels, the HSL secondary. And what you would do is you would take your eyedropper tool. And for those that are new to the eyedropper tool, it is basically a way to sample an area. So you would click this, and I'm going to sample the desert here. Oops, there we go. So now I've sampled the desert, and I'm going to click this color gray box, and that turns on what I've sampled so that I can see what I'm actually working with. And this is your hue, this is your saturation, and this is your luminance. And so I'm just going to try to take these to the extremes so that I can try to cover as much of that landscape as possible. Oops, there we go. It's kind of getting bigger here. It's probably a little laggy on here for you guys, but you're getting the point, hopefully. Let's see. So I'm trying to cover that wide range. So I'm now covering a lot more of it than I did previously just by adjusting these parameters here. So I'm going to toggle this back off. So now you can see when I do make any adjustments, what'll be adjusted is just what's inside of the gray. Okay, so it could probably be a little bit more refined and a little bit better, but for the sake of time, we're going to leave that as is. And what you'll do is you'll come down here to your color correction tab. This is your color wheel. And I'm going to basically just crank this up to the oranges so that you can see what's changing. So I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to move this all the way up to like an orange. Okay. And you can now see that just by doing that, we've taken the desert going from that to that. And so it's subtle, but you can see that that little tweak there with just the hue makes the sand and makes that part of the image and the video look that much more poppy.
That's so cool. I feel like we could do a whole segment just on color. I feel like that it's so diverse and so much within it that you could get into.
Yeah, you really could. And I mean, if you guys are have any other questions with this Lumetri panel, like it's really, really awesome. And I used to actually color grade outside in school, with a program called DaVinci. And that's a little bit more advanced than where Premiere was at, but they have since like really just stepped up their game in color grading, and you can do everything right here without having to leave to go to another program. So it's amazing.
Love it. Awesome.
And then we talked about this yesterday. This is kind of your LUT panel. So if you wanted to add a little LUT on top of that, you can easily do this. That looks like crap. So let's not do that. But I don't know, that looks like crazy. But if you liked that a little bit, you could take the intensity down to about 60. And now this is your before and that's your after.
Oh yeah.
So
much more vibrant.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. Awesome.
How are you feeling with things? Do you feel like you want me to go into rush? What's everyone thinking? What's everyone feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about Premiere all day, but I know that we have a lot of other things that we were going to try to get to. It seems like you guys are blowing up the chat, and it's awesome. So maybe we go over and kind of talk about our workflow a little bit in you using Rush and editing on the phone. And then if there's time at the end, maybe we can dabble in After Effects a little bit or save it for another time.
Yeah, I think let's save After Effects for another time, but we could at least maybe hop back into Premiere with time depending.
Sure.
And we have our artist spotlight coming up in 25 minutes. So
awesome.
Let me just go ahead and share my phone here. Let me make sure it's unlocked, open. All right. And looks like we are live on my phone.
Awesome.
So does that look good to you, James? Are you seeing it on my phone as well? Just want to make sure we don't have yesterday's happen again.
I do.
All right. So we are inside Rush right here, and you can see I have a couple of projects already open, but what I want to show you guys is our workflow. And usually what we do is James will create our final video in Premiere as he did today and yesterday, and then he'll airdrop it over to my phone so I can make some final adjustments in Rush and then put it into TikTok and Instagram Reels. So he has already sent those over. So I'm inside Rush and just going to click the plus icon and click add media. And then I'm going to go to videos, and I'm going to first, let's add the version of the YouTube video so that it will be fully set as a YouTube video format. So you can see here, it's going to start to play.
So
and
cool.
You can hear audio on that, right?
I can't hear audio on that one.
Okay, that's all right. So I just want to show that you can actually extract the audio. And I know someone had a question about this yesterday. And so if you click and hold on your clip, long press, you can either expand your audio or you can separate the audio. So if you have a clip that's maybe from a little point and shoot camera or from your cell phone, or a clip that someone has given to you, like in this instance, James has passed this over to me, and I want to start editing the audio and separating it and pulling things apart, I can just click separate audio, and now I can edit these two independently. And this is really nice because now I can just kind of use my fingers to zoom in on it, just a little, finger zoom like that, and start to cut this all up.
It's so awesome.
I wish everyone could hear it, but
it's so cool. It's like, honestly, so cool. I'm kind of blown away every time you edit on your phone, because it's something that I can do, but it's still so foreign to me. And you just nail it like a pro every time. You're just sitting there scrolling. I'm like, what are you doing? You're like, I'm editing this video right now.
Yeah, with my long nails too, just like.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So one of the things I wanted to show you all does have audio involved with it, but I can at least just tell you. And so you're not hearing that, James?
I'm not hearing that now.
Okay. Let's see. So let's first look at the sizing. So let's say James didn't finish this in Premiere and he didn't end up cropping it for me. So I have this YouTube video ready to go, ready to edit, but I need to put this on Instagram now. So if I just come down here and click this little button with the two formats, it shows me I have 16:9 and 9:16, 4:5, and 1:1. So 4:5 we would use if we're posting on the Instagram feed, and 1:1 maybe for a Facebook ad. But in this case, we're looking to use 9:16. So we'll click that. And then you can see that we have these sections kind of pre-chosen for us. And just like James was saying, maybe you'll want to choose the section where it crops in so that it's not doing it automatically for you. So in this instance, this one did a pretty good job. Let's see. Maybe here we want to zoom over a little bit because it's actually missing the van clip that we have. So what I would do is I would just put my what do you call it? The timeline cursor thing.
Your playhead, I guess.
Yeah, my playhead.
Yeah. I like timeline cursor thing though.
I've never taught Rush out loud, so nor have I taught Rush myself quietly either.
It's way more scientific.
I know. So you'll just put the playhead where you want to clip it or cut it, and then you'll go down here and click on the little scissors. And then you can clip it. You can see it's going to separate the audio out. And then I'm going to go all the way to the end of this clip and right about there. And then I'm going to click the scissors again. So now I have this clip that I want to kind of play around with. Let's see, did it clip?
It looks like
just,
it.
I think it just clipped the audio. There we go.
There you go.
Now, okay. All right. So now I can click on this clip and I can click transform and I can either fit it like that or go back to fill. And we want to keep it filled. Sometimes we use the fit method. Sometimes this is helpful depending on the type of project that you're working on, but we want to fill it. And then we can click this H and V position, the horizontal and the vertical position, and we can just slide it over. So I can go ahead like that. And now you see our van. So I can slide it all the way over, and maybe I just want it, see, this is the vertical position. We don't want to see any of those black bars. So we want to make sure we're fit there. And maybe we want it to start here and get over to those mountains a little bit. So we'll shift it over a little bit and see, shift it here. And that looks pretty good.
So crazy to me that like you can edit a whole video like from sitting in the front seat of your car, not on a laptop or a huge desktop, just from your phone. I think I don't feel like we fully have comprehended the ease of use that program and these programs on your phone can actually allow you to do.
It's so true. And this is so nice for like when you're on the go and maybe you've created a project in Premiere and you can actually sync Rush on your phone to your Premiere on desktop as well as Rush on desktop. So James and I are signed into separate Adobe accounts, but if we were signed into the same account and he created a video in Premiere or I created one in Rush, then we could just sync them up and work on them back and forth. So in this case, we haven't done that, but so now this is looking pretty good. The only thing that is kind of a bummer here is at the end that the magic of the mountains gets cut off. So in this case, I might go back to James and say, can you fix that text in Premiere or sync it back up so he can fix it? Or I would come in and just cut this clip right here with my little scissors. And then I might go in and click transform and fit this so that in this case, the magic of the mountains would come up at the end. So you can kind of play around with that to your liking and see how it works. So now I just want to go back and I'm going to add another one that James created for me. And I'm going to you can either go to camera or videos or photo if you want everything. I'm just going to go to videos and I'm going to add, you can see Lucy walking here. You can see we do lots of little videos on our phone. You can see me macrame. All of this is like kind of our fun free time.
Yeah, Anna's phone is like her memory card camera, the way that I have all of our footage. Like her footage is all on her phone. And that's why I think she was pretty distraught to lose her phone. I don't know if anybody saw our recent video about that.
Yeah, if you guys want to have some entertainment, definitely go watch our recent YouTube video about me losing my phone on a mountain. And that's how James came up with the magic of the mountains video. But we found it with a metal detector and it was quite the adventure. So highly recommend checking that out.
Craziness.
So in this video, James has already formatted it in 9:16, as you guys saw him do in Premiere, and then he sent it over for me. So it's much more ready to go. He has no text in here at the end. So in this case, I can come in and I can add my own graphic. So I can click down here, the little graphics icon. And then Adobe has provided all of these title treatments, just like we were seeing in Premiere. So you can choose whatever you want. The one thing I haven't been able to figure out yet is how to create my own from scratch. So if anyone knows that, let us know. But you can just click on the title you want to add, click add, and then there's your title. And you can come in and double click and we can add in here. Let's just say we're going to say leave the map at the end. And then we can come in and edit the text, and it's pretty self-explanatory. You can scroll through and change the font style and change the size and everything of the such. So really simple and really easy to use on that. So then we also have some fun other things on here like effects. If you were going between the clips and you wanted to dissolve or you wanted to do one of the cool like kind of TikTok viral like swipe features, we could do that. So let's just say I'm going to slice up James's beautiful work here and start to
Yes.
add some of my own effects.
Chop it up. Just go to town on it.
Okay, so let's see. We'll cut this here. Actually, let's just cut between these.
In the meantime, it looks like Bruce had a question. And Bruce, I just want to clarify. So if you have a landscaped photo and you would want to show more of it, would you cut it up? In what context are you kind of referring to? Are you talking about this video if the photo's landscape and you want to actually crop it for vertical? Is that what you're asking?
We'll see what he says.
Hi there, Merv. Nice to everyone in the chat. All right, continue. Keep going. I'll keep an eye on everybody here.
Okay. So we can see here, James just has the fade transition or the cross, whatever, you know, the right words for it.
A hard cut?
Oh, that's a hard cut. Good,
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. But we can go into effects and then let's say we wanted to add a wipe right. Did it work?
Did it work?
There we go.
There you go.
I think I have to expand it a little. So let's see. I don't think it's working.
I don't know if it's working. It's hard to see.
Let's try a different one. It could be because this video, oh, there we go. So you can see like this looks kind of weird, but you can see how you can start adding those effects in. Cool. Let's try push left.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Seems to be layering them. I still have to play around with Rush some more. As I said, I'm not an expert in it yet, but it is a very great app to be able to use to edit TikTok videos and reels. I've been like struggling really hard to try to find an app that I really like. I know a lot of people use like InShot, but I of course am always going to be loyal to the Adobe programs, and being able to sync from Premiere to Rush and to Rush on desktop gives you just like so many more abilities to create the masterpiece that you want to build and not just have to rely on your phone or have to rely on kind of these like dorky transitions. You can really get into like building something beautiful and meaningful.
Yeah. And like an antidote to that is, especially now with everyone creating like TikTok's a prime example of creating videos on TikTok just natively on your phone. So many people are doing that rather than, you know, creating these huge like monster files with high quality production cameras. So you want to make sure that you have an app on your phone that can handle those clips that you have, because it's so much easier to just edit all the clips you have on your phone rather than sending all those clips to a hard drive, importing them into Premiere, editing what you have to do, then exporting them back to your phone. So it's a really good just way to, I think, just work more efficiently. If you're only posting to TikTok or if you're only posting Instagram videos, then it makes a lot of sense to really like use a product like this.
Yeah, exactly. And especially, you know, I had to go and splurge on the iPhone 12 because of the wide angle lens and the camera capabilities. And so now I'm like always recording things on my phone. James will never be a phone person, always camera guy. But
I try.
Hey, well, it's good to have a balance. We have both. We have you with the camera, me with the phone. And so having an app where I can edit is so useful. So I just wanted to show you all this real quick. This is a sequence that I made that's actually over on our Reels, and it's not on our TikTok right now, but you can see that I added in a title treatment here. And then I actually have a voiceover on this too. And unfortunately, since for some reason my audio is not coming through and you guys can't hear it, I just am going to explain this and show you that you can easily add a voiceover. Let's see. I believe it's in, where is it? You know where voiceover is?
Inside of Rush?
Yeah.
I don't know, unfortunately. You're a bit more of the rush queen.
I know. Well, I added this voiceover, but mainly what I wanted to show you was in speed. If you were to go and do a voiceover and talk or have any sort of audio that's maybe a little too slow for the clip that you're working on or a little too fast, you can slow it down in here just by dragging this range speed. But then you can also click on, usually this is not a feature that most apps have, this maintain pitch, especially in like the TikTok video editing apps. They usually don't have it. So if I were to go and speed this clip up, I would then sound like a chipmunk and I'd be like, but if I click maintain pitch, then all it does is it speeds up my voice so that I talk a lot faster and I can sound like this. And so this is especially useful for TikTok videos and for Reels when you have 30 seconds to a minute to capture the audience and to tell a story. And without kind of going overboard and making this way too fast, you can at least maybe go from like 100 to 120, maintain that pitch and keep the volume of your voice. So I highly recommend playing around with this since you can't hear my audio and hear the change. It's like, it's such a game changer. When I discovered this, I was kind of like, oh my God, I can make endless TikTok videos now.
So I know it's the best.
Yeah. So that pretty much does it for Rush. We can get into more details in Rush on our next stream. Once maybe we can get the audio hooked up and maybe I can learn a bit more of some techniques and we'll do Rush on desktop as well. So
Voodoo Val said came for the video editing, stayed for the Anna Chipmunk impression.
Love that.
Don't we all?
I know.
So
good. You could see too how on here, like you can start to build out the timeline the same way that James was. You can start to add color effects, like exactly how James was doing in Premiere. You can play around with the exposure, the contrast, highlight, shadows. You got your speed controls here of the clip and the audio, depending on what you want to work on. Oh, and then, okay, so your there we go. The voiceover is under audio. So then you have the option to add music, reduce noise, reduce echo, and all of your transform controls for your cropping. My computer's freaking out. And your option to add other clips, delete clips. This is, I believe, copying that. And then we can go ahead and save it. So if you were to click that, you can export it and have your quality settings in there. So I just usually do automatic, then export it, and I don't share it directly to social or anything. I just save it onto my camera roll and then upload it later. And up here next to the share button is your undo button if you make any mistakes. And let's just go back home real quick.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
More of a question for like thumbnails inside of Rush. Like when you're creating, I know for you, when you create our TikTok videos and a lot of the Instagram videos, are you using the thumbnail that's the first frame of the video, or are you creating like a separate thumbnail for it?
That's a great question. Let's actually go back in and look at that. So you can see here, if I zoom in, that I added a photo here. So this is the start to the video here. It goes into showing you how to export TikTok videos without the watermark, but I was uploading this to Reels and I wanted to make sure there was a cover photo. So to add that, I would just click the little plus icon here and then I would go, oh, there's voiceover, duh.
Right in front of us.
I know. I'm like, this is always something. I'm sure you guys experience this all the time. You worked in an app for years or maybe not. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, duh, it's right there. So you got your capture, your graphics, your audio, your voiceover. So Sweet. Let's just go to media and I can go to photos and then I can pick out, like, let's say this was going to be the cover photo for it. This picture of you, I'm going to add that. And it adds it in, and then I can put that here. And I'll move that.
So fast, look at you go.
I know. Although this is linking, let me move that over. There we go. And then I can move this down, this text, double click it. Sometimes editing on your phone's a pain, but It works. It's fast. So
Yeah.
then we could go.
Well, it's probably too like when there's not as many layers on your phone, it's a lot easier. If you're like starting from scratch on a project for TikTok, it's probably easier than inheriting another file from me that has a lot of layers in them.
Definitely. And also when you're not doing it live and you're not like trying to demo something, it's easier to edit on your phone too.
Totally.
Sometimes it takes me a while and I'm like a little slow with it. And then I'll speed up with certain aspects of the video or whatever I'm working on if I'm trying out new things. So highly recommend playing around with these if you guys are just trying to get used to using some video editing, or maybe Premiere is a little scary, but you want to at least try some of the effects out, then this is your new best friend.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's like we said, it's so great to be able to work between these programs and to be able to have the ability to at your fingertips create wherever you are. So kind of strike when the iron's hot, as they say, or like when your inspiration hits. If you're out and about and you don't have a camera, but you're super inspired and you want to create something just using your phone, then using Rush is a really great way to film something really quickly and then create it and edit it right from your phone.
Yeah, exactly. So let's switch back over to your screen. We have 4 minutes until our little portfolio review.
Okay. Should I get started on anything, or is that 4 minutes? 4 minutes probably
I
isn't
know.
enough time.
I know.
Well, I'll start here just playing around a little bit, and while we have a little bit of time, and then Anna just interrupt me once we're ready to go into our
Okay.
spotlight. But I figured with the last little bit of time we have, what we can do is just go back into what we did earlier and just kind of start playing around with creating some graphics in Premiere and saving those graphics as little animations. So I'm just going to start playing around here and see what we can create as a little like title card. We'll call it like our Magic of the Mountains title card. So we have our ellipse tool here. Let's maybe create like a large circle. Oops.
And we can go back to this too. Whatever you start, we'll.
Cool. So I'm going to make this almost like the size of the frame, because I want to kind of create a bit of a cool little animation where a circle maybe comes in and then another circle comes in and then we mask maybe the title Magic of the Mountains or something like that. We were going to maybe get to this time around, but probably in April, we'll be talking more about After Effects. So that's when we can really get into some more of the details of how to animate in After Effects. But for now, what I'll do is we're going to pull up our libraries here on the left so that you can see where our style guide is. We went over this yesterday so that I make sure that we're always using the colors that we want. So what we'll do is to change the color, we'll go to fill, use this color dropper, and I want to maybe use this green, that cool color. And now we've adjusted the color of our circle to the color code here in our libraries panel. So that's maybe one shape that we want to add. And let's say, oh, there goes my computer. Let's see.
What's it doing?
Everything's about to explode.
Uh-oh.
No, it's give it a second. It's been pretty good, I have to say, before it explodes. Let's see.
And better knock on some wood.
There we go. So let's say we want to take this circle and we want to animate this shape. We're just going to take our little scale properties here. And what I want to do is just create like a couple different like size circles sort of coming at us and filling the screen. So what we'll do is we'll take a scale property and we're going to add that keyframe like we said before. We're going to drag it out a little bit. Let's toggle back and let's go to 0. So that starts from 0 to, let's go like 250, because we're going to really see a huge shift in how big this circle can get. And maybe we want to animate this with a little bit more of an easy ease so it looks smoother as it comes in. So we're going to right click that and go to easy ease. And I want this to even happen a little bit faster because I'm going to add another color circle to it. So there's one piece of it. So that's really fast, but we're going to layer a couple on here so it looks like a bit of an animation happening before our text comes in. And Anna, let me know when you want to cut over to a spotlight, because I can certainly just stop this and then we can move on to something else.
We got about a little less than a minute. So anytime you have a good kind of pausing point.
Okay. So let's just do one more here. So we're going to create another shape. This one maybe we'll make, oops. Let's make this shape. Where did she go? Where did the shape go?
You're like me, like I can't find anything today.
I know. I'm like, okay, what's happening here? Oh, it's because my layer was turned off. That's why. There we go. Nope. Just kidding. What's happening here, guys? Tell me. Let's see.
I was gonna say it's Friday, but it's only Tuesday.
Why does it feel like Friday? It does feel like Friday, doesn't it? All right. Maybe this is a good time to head over to our spotlight, and we can kind of mess with this a little bit later.
Yeah, you can keep messing with that if you need to figure out what's going on. So let me just share my screen here.
Oops, tool. Oh, I know what was happening.
Figured it out.
It was the exact same color. So it was actually just blending in there.
So we are on the artist spotlight now, and over on Behance. Let's wait for that to pop up over here.
There we go.
There we go. All right.
Cool.
So congratulations, Ted. I have seen you in the chat all afternoon. So this is really exciting to have you here. You are our artist of the day, and we are going to be taking a look at your portfolio. And we've heard you've been very involved with all of the creative challenges and clearly involved in the chat. So hopefully you're still here to be able to talk to us about this. But it looks like you have a ton of work. Looks like you've been very busy in Photoshop.
Ted's been a busy guy, man. And yeah, you're super active in the chat, and we're stoked to be able to spotlight you today. You've been doing a lot of great work.
Yeah. Let me just refresh this over here. Okay. Wow, this one's really cool. Check that out.
Whoa.
Oh, Paul Tranny, Daily Creative Challenge. All right, there's Ted. Cool. Hi, Ted. Congratulations. So
what's up, Ted? Yeah, it's so great. It's just so great to see everyone getting involved and using the products and just getting better and better every day. So really, really important to practice. And Ted, you've been doing a great job. I also see that you're from New Jersey. So what's up, fellow Jerseyan?
Oh, yeah. This is cool. You've been like really playing with all of the different Photoshop effects.
Oh, that's cool.
What's your favorite tool in Photoshop? Let us know.
Ooh, what a tough question, huh?
I know. Or your favorite thing that you've done in Photoshop, I should say, maybe.
Ted, no reason to be nervous. We're honoring you, man. You've done a great job. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And continue to do this, because it does pay off. And the more you work in these programs, the better you become at it. So it's great that you're so involved.
Yeah, this is so cool to see all of the different things that you're trying out. Like, more power to you. And I've said this before on other streams. I think it's very easy to be scared of trying new things and to be scared to try new tools or new methods that maybe aren't in your style or something that you may necessarily not like yourself, but you're clearly trying everything here, and you're seeing if things work, if colors work, if textures work, and that's how you learn and get better every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like we said before, I mean, it's at our disposal, and to be able to spend the time to just better your craft. It's a great way to spend your time and get creative. It's amazing.
This one's really cool. I love that.
I like the one in the middle there. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, these posters are really great. I know I have some friends who did the poster day challenge, and that's a really good one for testing your skills.
Ted says that he's now using Premiere Pro to make videos for your portfolios. Right on, Ted. Love that. I'm glad you're here then asking questions. And if there's any other questions you have about it in the chat, feel free, because we're always trying to help people out that are using the products.
Yeah. Looks like, is this one of your videos that you made in Premiere? We were watching this earlier. This is a great way to show your portfolio.
Yeah, and a lot of the effects inside of Premiere, like we touched on it a little bit, but it seems like you use a lot of those, Ted. And I often overlook that stuff, and I try to go the long way. And for someone trying to create like every day, it's helpful to use a lot of the preset tools that are already there for you. So it seems like you're doing a lot of that.
Yeah. I love this blue whale stamp. I want that.
That's cool.
That's super cool.
That is really cool. Man, so much work here.
I know.
Like it just
And
goes
so
on and
many
on.
great colors and just textures is really, really great. Let's see. Photoshop 2021. Daily Creative Challenge with Jesus Ramirez, who's awesome. Great guy.
He is a great guy.
Yeah. One of my good pals. These are cool. So what was the challenge here? Oh, using new features. That's a great challenge to test yourself on, trying out the new features anytime one of the Adobe apps comes out with them, to test them out, because it's easy. Like, I'm very guilty of this, of just kind of sticking with the legacy products and sticking with what Photoshop has always had and kind of the methods that I've used, and really testing these new products is so important for improving your skills.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, and I mean, it's just you're always getting better. Like everybody that uses Premiere, I mean, we're learning new stuff every day, and being in Photoshop, like you're just constantly getting better every time you use it. So you never reach perfection. It's always important to, be open to learn and continue to, better yourself every day. I love that one. That's cool.
Use the pattern preview tool to create a seamless pattern. That's awesome. Really good job cutting these roses out too. Looks perfect. Oh, that's so cool. Whoa, it reminds me of those like optical illusion things when you're a kid that you look at and you like see a dinosaur popping out at you.
Oh my God, I know. In like all like the books at the doctor's office that you would go to.
Yeah. Remember those? Those were so cool. Oh, replacing the sky replacement tool is insane. Wow.
Yeah. I know, especially the newest tool. I don't even really use it sometimes, but it's honestly it's so helpful.
I know. And look how cool this is. He added like a little motion effect to it.
I love it. Dude, killing it. It looks so good.
Design a logo. Adobe Banana Crew. Yes.
So Ted,
I somehow lost my banana on Photoshop. I don't know how to get it back.
I don't have one. I need to be a part of the crew.
Yeah, you're not cool if you don't have a banana on your Photoshop.
Clearly.
What were you gonna ask?
I was gonna ask Ted if he's still in the chat, if he has been doing this for a long time, or if this is something that's fairly new to him, or if he's always been kind of into the creative field. So Ted, if you're still there, we'd love to know kind of what got you started in wanting to share these.
Yeah. So many great things in here. Oh, colorize a photo. Wow, that's awesome.
Whoa.
Oh my God, that's cool. That was a technique that we were trying to learn. I remember in high school when we were restoring some of our old family photography for our senior project, and we were colorizing photos, but this looks like really, really good.
So
you did a
cool.
great job.
I know. I feel like that's really hard to do. To do well.
Yeah. And that looks so good. Color gradients. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, adds like a filter to it. Editing with presets.
So Ted said he just started at 0 level when the pandemic hit. Wow.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
That's incredible. So man, you've been hard at work for the last year.
Yeah.
I know. I know it's kind of interesting. I mean, as tough as the pandemic has been for everybody, I know it's also created a lot of these hobbies for people and ways for everyone to stay creative while they're at home and find other passions. So that's really cool, Ted. And it seems like you've created a lot of work in a year.
Yeah. And I think this may have been the one you were talking about with Voodoo Val, the Halloween challenge. This is cool. I love that crazy funky font and the colors. Let's see. Are you hearing my audio, James?
Yes, I am. Oh,
okay.
are you playing audio or just you're
I'm
speaking?
I'm playing a video.
Oh, I'm not hearing that.
Okay. Well, you guys should all go watch this video. Let me pause that. It has some music with it. So definitely check that out. Looks like a great way to show off your work. So cool. Love these Halloween ones. These would make great posters.
They really would. Makes me want like Halloween right now, even though I'm never really that eager to be in Halloween time.
I know. Well, thank you so much, Ted, for sharing your portfolio and for letting us take a look at your work. You've clearly done a lot of stuff in the past year, I guess now we're looking at with the pandemic, but more power to you. Keep it up and keep going. You're going to continue to get better and better. As we said earlier, like James and I have been working in these Adobe apps for years and are now streaming. So maybe someday you'll be sharing your work live here too. And go check out Ted on Behance and give him a follow, give him a hello, and thank you, Ted. This is awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, Ted. Ditto what Anna said. We really appreciate it. Your portfolio rocks. So keep it up.
Yeah. All right. And back to you, James.
Back to the weather.
Back to you. Hi, Paul. We love you and we miss you. Paul Tranny is in the house.
Yeah, there he is. That's exciting. I never thought I'd see the day where I was going to be on a stream and Paul would be in the chat. That's kind of cool. Paul's
Hi, Farah. Everyone's joining in.
Paul's been a bit of a celebrity lately. If anyone has seen him online, he's been in a Marriott ad that we actually photographed earlier. Well, at the end of last year, and some people think it's us, but it is handsome Paul Tranny. So he's in there.
I know it came full circle.
It did. Awesome. So I guess we have about probably 20 minutes left and really, and I guess I was going to ask you like, how should we use this time? Cause I can just sort of play around with some graphics in Premiere, or I can go into After Effects and at least start the conversation there. What do you think people in the chat would feel, fits them best here?
Yeah, I think if you want to continue on this little animation that you were working on, and then everyone in the chat, if you guys want to see James do anything else with the last few minutes here in Premiere, anything that maybe he went too fast over, anything that he may have missed, and we will be back in April for another Premiere segment, so we can catch up then too.
Yeah, that sounds great. And if you guys have any other, I saw someone in the chat had mentioned wanting some more color tips, so I can certainly go through some more color grading. But really what I was just going to do is go back into Premiere and kind of finish where we started and just create like a little text animation and use some shape layers inside of Premiere to create something that just sort of looks cool as a little template. And then we'll save that as a motion graphic like we did before. For those that are new, you'll be able to see what we did earlier and just sort of play around with Premiere a little bit and have fun with it. Really no pressure on there. So, all right. So what we'll do is I just want to create like a cool little, you can see I sort of started on this sweet little like shape animation here. And what I wanted to do is create a little like color animation using some shape layers. So I'll actually remove that because who cares about the work that I do?
I do.
Oh, thanks. And we'll start from scratch so you guys can see. So let's start with maybe an ellipse tool. We're going to pull my timeline down here. And we went over this yesterday, but we use Creative Cloud libraries quite often to make sure that we're sharing the same assets with each other. So over to the left, you'll see that this is our style guide. These are the colors that we use on our website and in all of our videos, and we try to keep a consistent flow. So I use these when I'm creating shapes inside of Premiere and make sure that I'm consistent. So what we'll do is we'll just add a regular shape. We'll make this a circle. And what I want to do is create it to be the size of the frame. And I want to animate it so it sort of zooms through the frame and we can have a couple different shapes sort of flying at us at once. And so what we'll do is we'll make that first shape and we'll just make that basically the size of our frame here. And don't worry if there's some black edges, we're gonna make that a little bit larger. So let's zoom in here. So we're at 50%.
Having deja vu.
Oh yeah, what's the deja vu? Oh, because you just saw me do this?
Yeah.
She was like, I just saw you do this 2 seconds ago.
Are you just kind of starting from scratch so that it's easier? Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't really going anywhere with it. So I'm like, I'll just try to do it on the fly. Okay, so we're gonna take our shape, and what we did earlier is we toggled this down, and this is, like we said, where all of your parameters are to actually keyframe that shape. And let's change this from white to one of our colors. So I'll show you how easily we can do that. So what you'll do is you'll click the fill icon here. This is the color that it's currently set at, which is white. And when we click on our color picker, we're gonna go down here to our little eyedropper, and then I'm going to just hover over this yellow color. And that's what I want my shape to be saved as. So a little bit more of like motion graphics look I'm going for right now rather than just text, but I thought it'd be a good way to show you guys how to animate some shapes here. So let's just move this. And what we'll do is we'll scale our shape. We'll do the same thing we did before. So let's start with our scale property, and then let's move this playhead up a couple seconds. We'll add another keyframe, and we're gonna go back and we're gonna set the scale parameters to 0. So if we play this back, very slow because of how far apart these keyframes are. But I want this to move a lot faster, and I want to make sure that the circle goes off of the actual frame so I don't see these black boxes. So what I'll do is I'll go here, and rather than 100, I'm just going to make this 200%. And I'm going to move these keyframes closer together. So now it's a little bit faster, and I still want that to move a bit more, a bit quicker. So that looks pretty good. And like we did before, we're gonna come in here and we're gonna easy ease, and that just smooths out our transition and makes it look a little bit more like an animation, right? So there we go. So now it almost looks like the circle is kind of melting into the frame just because it's scaling outside the frame. So you can imagine like adding a whole bunch of different layers on top of something like this. And so what I wanna do is I wanna create another shape, but I want that shape to be a little bit of a different size, and I want it to animate in after this shape. And so what we'll do is we'll come over here. We're gonna go back to our shape layer tool. We're gonna drag our shape, and I'm just gonna put this here for now. I realized before that I couldn't see it, and the reason for that is because the fill layer is actually the exact same layer color as this circle underneath it. So what I'll do is I'll come over here, I'll scroll to my CC libraries and see what color I want that shape to be. Maybe I want it to be a slightly different yellow, or, you know, let's go this like really cool, like blue gray color. So I'm gonna go back to that fill. I'm gonna click here, click my eyedropper tool, and then I'm gonna hover over and I'm gonna add that to my fill layer. And now we can see that circle because it's a different color. So right now, what you'll notice is it's all living under the same graphic parameters. So we have one shape here, and we have one shape here, instead of having to add different layers. And that's a really great tool to take advantage of, so that you don't have a million layers stacked on top of each other for one little like graphical animation inside of Premiere. So what we'll do is we'll go back in here. Let's see. So this is where our yellow comes in. So we want to make sure that our blue, maybe we want our blue to start scaling in here and then move to about here. So what we'll do is we'll toggle down our blue shape, which is right here. So I'm gonna take my own advice and rename this so we don't get confused. So blue shape, and then we'll name this yellow shape. All right, and so we're gonna take the blue shape and we're gonna do the same exact thing. And what we can actually do, rather than creating those exact same keyframes, we can just copy these keyframes. So you come in here and you go copy, and then we're gonna go right here and click blue shape, and we're gonna paste. And now we've pasted the exact same keyframe and the same distance so that there is consistency, but we've just pasted them in a different location. So if we play that from the beginning, we now have both those shapes coming in, but just at different times. And maybe I want this shape to animate a little bit quicker. So I'm gonna drag this around, and this is all preference. You can just start playing with playing with everything how you like it. All right, so boom, boom. And that to me looks like it moves a little too slowly. And so I kind of like the overlap where you're getting some of that yellow before you see the blue, but we just need to make sure that this blue, so we're clicked on the keyframe, is larger than the yellow. So we're gonna maybe change this to 220. And now we have something that looks like that. And actually we still see a little bit of that yellow here in the corner. So let's just go like 250. Oh, and this is important to note. If you create a parameter that you're not clicked on the keyframe, it'll add another keyframe. So you'll see that it actually added 2 keyframes, one right next to each other. I'm gonna undo that and show you why. So if you wanna make sure you're clicked on this keyframe before you make any adjustments. So I go back here and now I'm gonna change this to 250 so that it doesn't add another parameter. All right, and so that's our little animation, which I'm kind of liking. And let's maybe right after this blue circle, maybe we want a little like square box to animate in the middle of the frame. And this could be used as like a little background boilerplate for some social videos. So what we'll do is we'll just add another shape. And it's cool, you can add as many shapes as you want and you can really get creative just inside of Premiere. So let's add a line. Let's actually see about adding a line with the pen tool, excuse me. The pen tool. Whoops, what happened there? What did I do? Oh, we got to be on a new shape. Okay, so here we go. So you can see that we're now adding a new shape. Actually, I want to add a box rather than a line. So let's go back to our rectangle. You can see, I mean, this is just all creative preference right now. So you just have as much fun with it as you want. And I'm going to add basically a line or a box. And I'm going to change the color here. You can see that the fill properties are still set to where we chose our other shape, our yellow shape. So I want to actually change that to be white. So I'm going to go back in here to the appearance. I'm going to drag this down to white. And now I have a little kind of square box that, as we are right now, is populating the entire time we see this animation, but I'd rather have it start after this blue box comes in. And so what I want to do is we're going to go back to what we went over earlier with a mask. I'm going to call this white masked box. And I want to put a mask on it so that I can animate it in similar to what we did earlier. So I'm going to add this polygon mask. I'm going to go right over this shape. Okay. I know we're running a little close on time here, so we're almost done. And I'm going to put a mask as close to the edge as I can. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a position tool. And so here's my mask, which you can see if I click off of it, there's no more mask. But if you click here, you can now see that the mask is highlighted. What I want to do is I want to transform this. So I want the box to appear right after that blue or green circle animates into the frame. So I'll go down to the position here. And what the position is doing is it's moving it outside of that mask that we've created, right? So what I can do here is maybe we'll go off to the side. Maybe we want the box to come in off to the edge, so as if you're adding like a title inside of this or something. And so what we'll do is we'll start there. So now we don't actually see that bar. Maybe we get to about here and we're like, okay, that's a good time to start animating this box in. So we'll toggle on our animation, our position keyframe, and we'll pull this over a little bit. And then we'll bring that text box back in where we want it. And let's go back to our mask. Let's make sure that we're not overshooting the mask. Make sure we're on this keyframe here. And you can see now that plays back like this.
Oh,
and
cool.
So you're creating this like really cool little, almost like a lower third title happening. And I want this to maybe happen a little slower. And what's cool about the transform properties instead of a mask is you can easy ease these in, or you can create little Beziers so that they come in a little bit smoother. A mask doesn't have those properties. So I would do the same thing as I've done before, come in and go to Easy Ease. So it looks a little more natural. And that looks like a cool little, we're getting some weird little, I don't know what that is going on there. Looks like we weren't fully inside of our box here. So I'm just gonna tweak that a little bit, make sure it looks nice. And now we have something that just could be used as a little like text plate or a boilerplate to use in future videos. And what we would do, like we did before, if we didn't want to come in here and create this from scratch, we would take this entire graphic, we'd come in here, right click it, export that as a motion graphics template. We would save this. So let's save this as, let's call this like title templates. And we'll just call this circles and lines. It's not a really good name, but we're just going to call it that.
Circles and lines.
Gotta love circles and lines. And we're going to press OK. Let Premiere do its thing. And then this will be saved as a motion graphics template. You'd see the file name as Mogurt, and you might see that on YouTube or when you're doing research on motion graphics. Mogurt just stands for motion graphic template. It's just the shortened version. And then you go down here to title. We'll just search it. And now we're in, oops, there's a lot of title. So right here at the bottom, you see title templates and circles and lines. And so now if I was just starting a project from scratch and I wanted like a little background that I've created in the past, I could easily drag this into the timeline. It'll do its thing. It'll load all the parameters. And what you can do once this loads is you can actually click into that template and you can customize that template however you'd like. So you can change the color, you can change the text, you can change the speed and the motion of everything. So you can customize it as best you can, and you don't really need to recreate it from scratch.
That's so cool. That's such a useful tip. I feel like anything that allows you to save time.
Oh my God, I know. It really is such a time saver. And like I said before, like for years, I've been using either templates that are already in Premiere or purchase them from other people. And it's really cool to be able to create your own. And especially if you're looking for consistency with your work, you can create your own colors and styles just by doing everything in Premiere. You don't even have to touch After Effects.
Yeah. And there you have it, folks. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I can't believe we run out of time already today. Join us again in April. James and I will be back doing some Premiere, After Effects, Rush, all those beautiful things that you want to see. If you have any questions, feel free to DM us on Instagram. Anything that you want to see on the next live streams, let us know so that we can take advantage of that. Take care. Bye.
Bye, guys.